Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News. We've got some pretty interesting news to go over today, guys. First of all, the founder of the White Helmets, a former MI6 agent, he's also the financial backer, and he's only 43 years old, James Lemonnier. He was found deceased in Turkey. Very, very strange. There are some interesting things out there about the White Helmets, and we're going to go over that stuff for sure. Hillary Clinton also gave a very bizarre answer when asked if she might still run for president. Keep holding your breath, guys. Also, Alexander Vindman, the star witness, is going to be removed from his post at the National Security Council. That is great news. And finally, Nikki Haley reporting that when she was working in the Trump administration, General John Kelly sought to recruit her to subvert Trump. Who would have thought that General Kelly was a member of the resistance? Not only him, but somebody else very high up in the administration. So we're going to get into all this and more, and we'll be right back after a quick word from my sponsor. You know, it's taken a while, but Noble Gold has just perfected what we think is the world's first augmented reality coin. This coin, which takes you on Q's journey, is a true American wonder. Made here by craftsmen like Q, this coin represents all that is great about our country. The old-fashioned values behind its design, together with the state-of-the-art technology built into it, make this the perfect gift for the holiday season. So is the offer on this coin. Up until December through the holidays, Noble Gold are letting true Americans like you have 30% off the purchase price. Yes, Black Friday has come early with the Q coin. Use code REDPILL78 to get this special offer. Get yours by hitting the link below or going to GreatAwakeningCoin.com. All right, guys, thanks for sticking around. First of all, from my good friend John Paul Rice and Zero Hedge, White Helmet's MI6 co-founder has been found deceased in Turkey. A former British Army officer and military contractor who founded the shadowy White Helmets has been found dead near his home in Istanbul just days after he was accused by Russia of being a spy with connections to larger extremist groups, but that word starts with a T. The body of a 43-year-old James Lemonnier was found Monday in the Beyoğlu district of the city, with state-run Anadolu news agency reporting that he may have fallen to his death. Very, very strange. White Helmets reporting that right here. Now, the White Helmets, a roughly 3,000-member NGO, formerly known as the Syrian Civil Defense, was established in Turkey in late 2012, early 2013. Lemonnier trained an initial group of 20 Syrians, and the group then received funding from Lemonnier's Netherlands-based nonprofit group, Mayday Rescue, which is in turn funded by grants from the Dutch, British, Danish, and German governments. According to reporter and author Max Blumenthal, the White Helmets received at least $55 million from the British Foreign Office and $23 million from the Agency for International Development. They also may have received millions from Qatar, which has backed several extremist groups in Syria, including AQ. The U.S. has provided at least $32 million to the group, around one-third of their total funding, through a USAID scheme orchestrated by the Barry Obama State Department and routed overseas using a Washington, D.C. contractor participating in USAID's Syria Regional Program, Chemonics. According to their website, the White Helmets have been directly funded by Mayday Rescue and a company called Chemonics since 2014. Yet there's evidence that both of those organizations started supporting the White Helmets back in early 2013, right around the time the White Helmets claimed to have formed as self-organized groups. Mayday Rescue, as we said, is funded by the Dutch, British, Danish, and German governments and Chemonics. They are a Washington, D.C.-based contractor that was awarded $128.5 million in January 2013 to support a peaceful transition to a democratic and stable Syria as part of USAID's Syria Regional Program. At least $32 million has been given directly to the White Helmets as of February 2018. That's from Truth in Media. Notably, the Trump administration cut U.S. funding to the White Helmets last May, placing them under active review. While the White Helmets tout themselves as first responders, the group has been accused of staging multiple chemical attacks, including an April 7th incident in Douma, Syria, which the White House used as a pretext to bomb Syrian government facilities and bases. Now, Blumenthal writes, when Defense Secretary James Mattis cited social media in place of scientific evidence of a chemical attack in Duma, he was referring to video shot by members of the White Helmets. Similarly, when State Department spokesperson Heather Nauert sought to explain why the U.S. bombed Syria before inspectors from the OPCW could produce a report from the ground, she claimed, "We have our own intelligence." With little else to offer, she was likely referring to social media material published by members of the White Helmets. Now, just days before Monsieur's death, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova claimed he was a foreign agent of Britain's MI6 who had been spotted all around the world. And here is that report right there from MFA Russia. Now, weeks after the Duma incident, Russian officials brought 15 people to The Hague said to have been present, including 11-year-old Hassan Diab, who was seen in a widely distributed White Helmets video receiving emergency treatment in a local hospital after that alleged incident. "We were at the basement and we heard people shouting that we needed to go to a hospital. We went through a tunnel. At the hospital, they started pouring cold water on me," said Diab, who was featured in the video, which Russia's ambassador to the Netherlands says was staged, as many videos coming out from the White Helmets have been. Others present during the filming of Diab's hospital cleanup by the White Helmets include hospital administrator Ahmed Pkwy, who runs the emergency ward. "There were people unknown to us who were filming the emergency care, they were filming the chaos taking place inside, and were filming people being doused with water. The instruments they used to douse them with water were originally used to clean the floors, actually," Ahmed Pkwy, an administrator of the emergency ward, recalled. "That happened for about an hour. We provided help to them and sent them home. No one has died. No one suffered from chemical exposure. Whole thing was a setup." Also speaking at The Hague was Halil Al-Jaish, an emergency worker who treated people at the Duma hospital the day of the attack, who said that while some patients did come in for respiratory problems, they were attributed to heavy dust present in the air after recent airstrikes, but that nobody showed signs of chemical warfare poisoning. According to the governor's office in Istanbul, comprehensive administrative and judicial investigations have been initiated into Le Monsieur's death. Perhaps he fell after an Assad operative spiked his tea with polonium, affecting his equilibrium. Whatever the case, it wouldn't surprise us if this becomes a pretext to liberate Syria. Well, I tend to think that this was a cleanup operation on this guy. He was an MI6 agent, it's been shown by the Russian government, and there has been a lot of speculation about where the White Helmets came from. They had incredible PR. They believe they won an Academy Award for a documentary about their actions, and there was lots of coverage on the fact that the things that they were filming and then putting out were just completely staged. There was nothing actually happening. There was also a report that an actual chemical attack was perpetrated by the White Helmets in which people actually died, but then, of course, that was blamed on the Syrian government. I think that the fact that these people are total fakes is the reason why President Trump declined to continue funding them. But this is really a question, in my opinion, for No Name McCain and Lindsey Graham. These people were friends with these guys back when they started wanting to remove Assad, and now that we have basically brought peace to the country of Syria and the government is going to go ahead and take over again, there's no need to keep funding these guys to create fake attacks. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at a little bit more information about the White Helmets. All right, here we have coverage from RT back in 2016 stating that the White Helmets were a group of extremists that engaged in attacks and they were used as Western propaganda. But it basically goes through and it illuminates all of these claims, stating that they were fraudulently masquerading as a humanitarian organization designed solely to undermine the Syrian government. Now, these were claims that were not just made by the Russian press here, but an independent researcher and journalist named Vanessa Beeley, and other people were there to witness it too. Well, it states that they were basically a Western propaganda tool that was based out of Aleppo. They were one of a number of propaganda tools, and they were just simply the largest among all of those groups. But they're not heroes as the mainstream media was trying to make them out to be. Says this organization is a fraudulent shadow state construct created by NATO to simply propagate the propaganda that will demonize Assad's government and also demonize Russian legal intervention in Syria. From the information we've received, they are acting as a TERROR support group in the sense of bringing equipment, arms, and even funding into Syria. Now, when you put that together with the fact that they were being funded by Western NATO-led governments from across the globe, it really does put put kind of a pall over the stuff that they were doing there. Now, put that together with the fact that they were staging attacks themselves. They were staging fake attacks. They were creating this clear propaganda, videos of children that were supposedly harmed but were actually just fine. It really does look like they were a propaganda arm, and kind of like Operation Gladio, in that they're left behind in that country just in order to subvert the government, continue to create attacks, and give an excuse for these Western nations to come on in. This is the kind of stuff that NATO has done for many, many decades, and the United States, unfortunately, has been a big part of that. Now, that is not the fault of any of our men and women in uniform. This is the fault of the deep state, the people that are trying to remove President Trump from office right now. So I am not that surprised that James Lemercier has been found dead in Turkey. He probably knew all of the information. He could tell anyone who asked exactly who had been funding these guys, and he was probably a loose end that they needed to tie off. All right, up next, Hillary Clinton just will not quit. What did she mean by this? Hillary gives a bizarre answer when asked if she will run for president in 2020. We've got video. Now, crooked Hillary Clinton a few days ago was asked if she was going to run for president, again, during an interview with Andrew Ross Sorkin at the New York Times Deal Book Conference. Rather than giving a straight answer, Hillary played coy and gave a bizarre answer. She thinks she's funny, but she isn't. What would it take for you to run? Andrew Ross Sorkin asked Hillary. I'm sorry, to run? You know, I've always been a very, very slow runner, and I'm embarrassingly slow. I've tried to run races, and I'm so far behind that I start to walk, acting like that's what the plan was all the time, so I don't know that I'm going to take up competitive running right now, but I think you're asking about something else, Hillary said. Well, there's been some teasing and some hinting that maybe you're sitting in the wings here waiting for some moment, Sorkin said. Hillary Clinton went on to whine about the 2016 election and claimed she would have made a great president. Let's go ahead and listen to the clip.
Final question, what would it take you to run?
I'm sorry, to run?
To run.
You know, I have always been a very, very slow runner. And, you know, I am embarrassingly slow. I've tried to run races, and I am so far behind that I start to walk acting like that was what the plan was all the time. So I don't know that I'm going to take up competitive running right now, but I think you're asking about something else, aren't you?
Well, there's been some teasing and some hinting that maybe you're sitting in the off to the wings here waiting for some moment.
Oh, you know, look, I think I would have been a really good president. I think I could have been a very effective leader. I think I could have, you know, look, we have real divides in the country over all kinds of things. But I certainly, you know, in my years in the Senate, as Secretary of State, have worked really hard, as you say, to actually solve problems, not exacerbate them or ignore them. And I would have, you know, done everything I could to try to get us positioned for the future. I mean, that's what a leader is supposed to do. Elections are supposed to be about the future, and leadership should be about the future. So, yeah, I think I could have done a really good job. I think the last election was deeply flawed. And that there were so many unprecedented problems in that election that it's almost hard to make sense of. But, you know, I'm out here traveling around with my daughter, and she's still nursing her newest baby. So we've got I've got my grandson with me, and, you know, life is pretty good.
All right, translation. That's exactly what she's waiting to do. She is waiting in the wings for the perfect moment to slide right in there and act like the tortoise to Donald Trump's hair. Except it's not going to work, Hillary. She says that there were deeply flawed issues with the last election. Well, the only issue for Hillary Clinton that I see is that her voter fraud and attempts to steal the election didn't work. Her and her Democrat cronies, her friends in the deep state, this cabal trying to remove President Trump, they thought that they had it in the bag. Unfortunately, They didn't anticipate the will of the American people. If they only could have stolen a couple more votes, then perhaps, yes, Hillary Clinton would be president. But this would be a very different country, and not in the good way like Hillary Clinton is intimating, acting like the things she would do would be different from Donald Trump. They certainly would be different, but they would not be different in a positive light for this country. This would be a horrendous mistake for Hillary Clinton to get into the office of the president, to sit behind that desk in the Oval Office. It is pretty much a horror show if you guys think about how it plays out over time. There's something that someone that I know likes to say, you got to play that reel through. And when you play that through, you see Hillary Clinton presiding over a decimated United States of America. It's not a pretty picture. Now, Bill Clinton fueled rumors of a Hillary 2020 White House run when he said last month, pointing at Hillary, she may or may not ever run for anything, but I can't legally run for president again. Hillary Clinton's former aide Philippe Reines recently told Fox News host Tucker Carlson that Hillary is leaving the door open for a 2020 run. She ran for president because she thought she would be the best president, Reines said. If she still thought that now, if she thought she had the best odds of beating Donald Trump, I think she would think about it long and hard. Tucker Carlson asked Reines, she hasn't foreclosed the possibility? No, she has not, Reines said. Now, Hillary also teased a 2021 recently when she tweeted to Trump, don't tempt me, do your job, in response to Trump's taunt. Now, she's talking about the future. She's talking about what leaders need to do for the future. Well, Donald Trump is positioning America to be the greatest country in the world yet again. We're getting there, guys. In fact, I would say that we're probably just about there right now. The only thing that is holding us back is swamp rats like this. People like her and Philippe and Bill and all of their cronies in the D.C. swamp. All right, and speaking of those cronies in the D.C. swamp, we have a tweet here from Draw and Strike, and he is retweeting a tweet, which is a story from The Mirror. Apparently, the FBI is ready to swoop in on the pals of Jeffrey, the deceased billionaire financier. And he says, I keep telling people Jeffrey was not the real target of the SDNY's Public Corruption Unit investigation. He was unfinished business whose arrest took their operation public. Jeffrey never held public office. That is a fact. Now, what he's referring to is that the SDNY, their public corruption unit, was the unit in their prosecutor's office that was heading up this investigation into Jeffrey and the people surrounding him. I made note of this at the time. I asked Technofog about it, and it's something that I have been wondering about for a long time because he's right. Jeffrey never did hold public office. However, the people in his orbit most certainly held public office. And we can say one for sure, that would have been Bill Clinton. Let's go ahead and take a look at the article from The Mirror. Now, here we have it. FBI set to swoop on Jeffrey E.'s pals alleged to have groomed underage girls. U.S. prosecutors believe they have enough evidence to arrest former aides of U.S. tycoon Jeffrey E., found no longer with us in his prison cell in August while awaiting trial. FBI agents are poised to arrest at least 4 people alleged to have groomed underage girls for Prince Andrew's friend, Jeffrey E., a legal source said. But the insider said Andrew was not among the suspects. Shucks. One of Jeffrey's alleged victims, Virginia Guffrey, has claimed the financier trafficked her to the Duke of York and she had relations with him when she was only 17. The Prince, 59, has called the claims false and without foundation and said he was appalled by Jeffrey's alleged crimes. We all believe you, Andrew. It was revealed U.S. prosecutors believe they have enough evidence to arrest former aides of the U.S. tycoon who would have been 66. Now, the source said they're ready to ask a judge to issue arrest warrants for which will, I understand, be acted upon completely. The FBI is targeting those suspected of being involved, specifically in the recruitment of underage girls in America, Britain, and even Brazil. If convicted, they could face life behind bars. Now, the insider added, I doubt any will be offered the opportunity of a plea bargain based on the gravity of the offenses and the high profile of this case. But some could be handed less severe sentences if they cooperate. Who knows how far up the food chain this investigation will eventually go? I have no doubt there will be less significant players willing to drop the hammer on those above. And this is something I've been saying for a long time. We don't need this guy. Now that he's gone, it doesn't matter. And again, I don't know how he's gone. I don't know if he's on an island in the Maldives. I don't know if he's actually 6 feet under. All I know is that body was not his that they pulled out. Now, But as I stated previously, they have all of that blackmail evidence. They know the people that were in his orbit, and they know exactly what they were doing. So now, this entire time, they've been building their cases. They've got arrest warrants that are going to be coming out. These people are going down, and not a single one of them is going to have an issue ratting on the one above them, because they are not going to want to spend the rest of their lives in prison. We are going to see a lot of big people go down as a result of this sick individual right here. I just got to say, guys, I am pretty comfy about the whole thing. All right, guys, finally some good news coming out of this impeachment sham. National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien is saying that Schiff's star witness Alexander Vindman will be removed from the National Security Council. He appeared on CBS's Face the Nation on Sunday and talked about the major reduction in personnel at the National Security Council moving forward. Mr. O'Brien told CBS host Margaret Brennan that the agency became bloated under the Obama administration and ballooned to over 236 people. O'Brien, who was just appointed as National Security Advisor in September of this year after John Bolton was forced out, said Vindman is scheduled to be rotated out of his post at the National Security Council and sent back to the Department of Defense as he pares down the agency to only about 100 people. Now, don't forget, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman showed up to his impeachment testimony wearing his military dress. Vindman, one of Schiff's star witnesses and a left-wing hack, testified to the House Intel Committee that he thought the president was wrong in his policy with Ukraine. So he later told Ukrainians to ignore President Trump. Vindman actually thinks he is superior to Trump, even though he's only an inferior official in the Intel Department. Margaret Brennan asked Mr. O'Brien if there would be retaliation against Vindman for testifying. Mr. O'Brien was clear and said that everyone at the NSC will be rotated back to their respective departments and he will be bringing in new people. The National Security Council was full of Obama holdovers who ultimately damaged the Trump administration with illegal leaks to the media. And Lieutenant Colonel Vindman is just one of many Barry hacks who will be thrown out of the agency thanks to Robert O'Brien's leadership. This is really, really good news, guys. But the people on the National Security Council were not the only ones undermining President Trump and trying to damage his administration. We're going to take a look at one more article on this subject. It is new information from Nikki Haley, and you are not going to want to miss it. All right, guys, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley said that General John Kelly sought to recruit her to subvert Trump, but she kept this to herself until now. Nikki Haley, I really wish you would have said something back then. I'm so surprised that General Kelly is a member of the resistance. Former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, alleges in her new book that two of President Trump's senior advisors tried to recruit her to secretly undermine the administration from the inside. Haley says John Kelly and Rex Tillerson wanted her to join them to subvert President Trump. Apparently, she never mentioned this to the president or his administration. So why not? Whose side was she really on? And what made them think that she would be open to this? From Jack Posobiec, why didn't Nikki Haley think to mention this until now? Now, from Business Insider, former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, alleges that two of President Trump's senior advisors tried to recruit her to secretly undermine the administration from the inside. In her explosive new memoir, Haley claims former Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and former White House Chief of Staff John F. Kelly attempted to bring her in to subvert the president, according to the Washington Post, which obtained the book prior to its release. Haley refused their attempts to convince her to save the country, noting Tillerson and Kelly were suspicious of and threatened by her relationship with the president. During her time in the administration, Haley demonstrated an obligation to carry out Trump's wishes since he was the one elected by voters, wrote the Washington Post. Kelly and Tillerson confided in me that when they resisted the president, they weren't being insubordinate. They were trying to save the country. Absolutely incredible revelations here. And I have to believe that at some point the president got wind of this, and that must have been why General Kelly ended up leaving. Now, I do believe overall that General Kelly was an honorable man, but the fact that he was willing to subvert the president of the United States, that casts my opinion of him in an entirely different light. I already had reservations about Rex Tillerson, didn't like the guy from the get-go. But John Kelly, I really did think that he was a good guy. Well, I guess we have another person that we can add to the swamp, another two people we can definitively add to the swamp. Well, guys, I take a look at today's headlines and I see some big wins for America and some big losses for the swamp. It is definitively being drained all around the world, and the people who are stopping President Trump's agenda from being enacted, they know their time is up. Thanks to the FBI and the DOJ, the SDNY, the victims of the former billionaire financier Jeffrey are going to see justice. And I really do think, guys, that this is going to be a cascading domino effect all across the world. I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, it's Red Pill. I just wanted to say one more thing. Thank you very much to all my patrons. Thank you to everyone who supports this channel. If anyone wants to help out, there are links in the description of this video below. Please make sure to subscribe to my backup channels in case anything happens here. I will begin publishing there. And if you guys have any questions or tips for me, please send me an email at redpill78@protonmail.com. Also, don't forget to make sure that you have notifications turned on for this channel. When you go to my channel page, there is a little bell. Click that bell and choose all notifications. And if you don't have one already, go sign up on Twitter and follow me there and make sure that your notifications are on. Because even if you don't get a notification from YouTube, I always have a notification that goes out on my Twitter page that lets you know every time I put out a new video. I look forward to reading your messages. I look forward to getting the news to you on a daily basis. And I look forward to seeing you all again in the next episode.